Could you take us back to the beginning? How did you discover your passion for storytelling and the arts?
Wow, that's a deep one. It's actually kind of rooted in my family. My grandfather um, was an actor at the Pasadena Playhouse in the 30s and 40s, I believe, um, and he instilled that sort of passion in me as a youth. We would always he was a larger than life personality. We would do voices and characters and um, so that was ingrained in terms of you know coming up with characters and thinking that acting was cool, right? Something that I wanted to do. And then both of my parents actually work in the entertainment business as well. My dad worked at Disney when I was growing up, and my mom works at a place called Carsey Warner Television. So growing up, Carsey Warner, my mom worked at CBS Radford, and she would take me to see tapings of that '70s show and Third
Mhm.
Rock from the Sun, and it was just the coolest thing. Um, but then I sort of took a pause in my life on that front. Took a pause from doing like sort of community theater type plays and everything like that. I got very into sports, so much that I played football in college, and that sort of dominated like my interest. But I got to college, I got very real with myself and said, Alex, you're not an NFL caliber player, so let's maybe shift gears here with your life. So it was a summer of my freshman year of college. My dad is actually the one that made me take an improv class. So I was 19 years old, or maybe 18 years old, and he made me. He was like, "You're going to do two things this summer. You're going to get a job, and you're going to take an improv class," because he was doing improv. So I took a class at the IO West at the young age of 18 years old, and I never looked back. It was something that I loved so much, and it really reconnected me to my grandfather and the voices and the things that we would do, when I was a kid, just on the phone, or when he would, when we would visit. So um, yeah, and then that the tenure in improv and the grind and really making that my personal focus. 12 years later, now I'm a member of the Groundlings main company,
Yeah.
and obviously, this is what I do for a living now, and it's been a long, challenging road to get here, but it's one that I truly feel like I have to pinch myself every day.
You've credited the Groundlings for opening your eyes to the possibility of a career in this industry. What did you learn from your experience and time with the Groundlings that you've been able to apply to your career, specifically working on a show like Kevin can at himself?
Yeah, I really I owe everything to the Groundlings. Honestly, I spent a lot of time, probably 7 years, just honing the craft of improv and comedy in general before I even got to the Groundlings. And I joke with people that it was like I went to comedy grad school, because it took me 5 years to get through the program to where I am now as a member of the main company. And on a personal level, when I started the program at the Groundlings, I was selling furniture for a living. I worked at a digital. We sold furniture online, and improv was a constant in my life. But I had worked a ton of other jobs while performing, and just trying to get good at this craft before I was sort of put in a position where I was going to be seen by agents and managers and things, that the
Mhm.
Groundlings sort of offers that sort of exposure. So how the program at the Groundlings works is you do all the improv, and then you do a writing lab, and then you do an advanced writing lab, and then you do Sunday company. So Sunday company is like the top level of the school. It's the next step before you're in main company. And it was during my advanced writing lab performance. It was our first show. I had just had a child, or maybe Rosie wasn't born yet. Either way, it was either just had a child or my wife was about to give birth. And I had a show, and it was on a Monday night, and it went really well. And I just started crying on my way to work, tears of joy and gratitude. And I was like, wow, this is actually, it was in that moment where I was like, it was sort of the affirmation of like 12 years of
Mhm.
work, to go, yeah, you are good at this, you are ready for this. And so that the confidence that I got from the Groundlings at that, early-ish stage, being advanced writing lab, was huge. And then through advanced writing lab, through Sunday company, even to now, we really get pushed to be unique, to find real characters, you know, that are fun and silly and wacky, but they're real people. And that's
Yeah.
what I thought to Neil and Kevin Can Fuck Himself, because, you know, like I knew when I was pitched this by my team, and I got the script for season 1, it was pitched as like a multicam. You're the multicam sort of part of the show.
Yeah.
And so I approached it with that, and was a big goofball. And I had, you know, if you saw the first season, you know, I had like shoulder length hair, and I put on a baseball cap that was really tight fitting, and it made my hair kind of stick out, and I looked like a clown, like the human version of a clown. And so from the performance, you know, knowing where to take it and know how to take this sort of big, for lack of a better term, character, but also make him a real living, breathing human was important. And that served me into the second season, which, you know, spoiler alert, if you saw the finale from season 1, Neil gets sort of thrust into that world. And season 2, we pick right back up where we left off. So the fact that the Groundlings taught me how to make funny characters, but make them real and grounded. When the lens shifted and Neil was now seen in single cam, he was a real person. It wasn't a caricature or a cartoon. And that's, you know, sort of what we talk about and what we preach.
Yeah. Great answer and perfect segue to this next question. But at the end of season 1, your character does an unthinkable act and is brought into this real world and has to come to terms with his actions. What was your initial reaction when you read that final script for season 1? How early on did the writers and showrunners kind of clue you in about Neil's journey?
They kept it a secret, and I thought, as I remember, I can have the feeling now as I'm turning that page for episode 108. I'm in the kitchen. Wait, what am I doing in the kitchen? I was feeling everything that hopefully the viewers saw. My heart was pounding. Why is he there? What is he doing in the closet? Oh my God, it's just him and Allison. And I thought that Neil was gonna die. And I was like, oh boy, this is where the you know where the journey stops for Neil. And when he didn't, and it was like, you know, because how the script is written, the multicam scenes are in italics, I believe, and then the single cam scenes are in. So when I saw Neil not italicized, I was like, oh my God, it was so exciting. And I later found out from Valerie Armstrong and Craig DiGregorio, the creator and showrunner respectively, that Neil was supposed to die. So I was feeling that, and they decided to keep Neil around, and I'm glad that they did, and I think viewers will be glad that they did too, because Neil goes through, you know, a really large journey. You know, he goes through a lot in the second season.
How did you prepare for that scene in particular? Because you take audiences on such a emotional ride within those kind of closing moments of season 1, where they're laughing with you one moment and then they're a little bit confused about how they should be reacting to your character. How did you prepare for that?
My preparation for Neil was very similar, honestly, from multicam to single cam. Neil had, in his multicam scenes, he's a very intense guy. So he has an intensity to him, but he's intense about helping Kevin build an escape room in their basement. He's intense about, you know, going to the storage locker. He handcuffed a briefcase full of tokens at Tricky Ricky's Funhouse. Like, he's very serious about everything that he does. It's just all very stupid, right? In season 1. So in season 2, in that scene, or excuse me, the finale of season 1, in that scene in particular, he's still very serious. It's just now he's committing a very vile act, because it's that same level of emotion, right? It's just paired with, you know, strangling someone.
Yeah.
So yeah, that and really, you know, Neil's worldview is filtered through Kevin. So everything always sort of came back to like his feelings and emotions and loyalties about Kevin. You know, when Kevin laughed at one of his jokes, it was like, you know, it was the best thing. And when Kevin put him down, he got really sad. And if someone threatened Kevin, like Allison was, you know, attempting to kill him in season 1, and he found out about that he saw red, you know. So that, yeah, the work and the preparation wasn't too different, because Neil is just an intense guy.
In season two, as Neil's getting thrust into this new world and coming to terms with his actions, what can you tease about his journey in season two, and how did that kind of change your preparation?
Yeah, I mean, you just see him for the first time look inward. You know, guys like Neil and Kevin never look inward because they don't have to. They are who they
Yeah.
are, and you can deal with it. And we live here, and it's great. There's no place else better. You know what I mean? So everything is very like insular in terms of their thoughts and their feelings. So Neil having to deal with the ramifications for the first time, suffer real world consequences, literally bleed at the hands of someone that he has put down and marginalized his entire life, it really messes with his sort of worldview. He starts to question things and starts to question his relationships with people, you know, namely Kevin. And when the person who was the center of your universe, and you've always just sort of accepted them as what they were, you start to go, oh, wait, this is also kind of an abusive relationship too, you know. I just got in touch with what that would mean for me, really.
Mm.
And what was the blessing about this role and these two seasons for me in particular was when it came time to switch into that single cam lens, I knew Neil inside and out. I had already done the work on who Neil was, and what he thought and what he felt about everyone else in his world. So that preparation was I was sort of ahead of the curve, and switching to that sort of dramatic side, that gritty side of Neil, all the same sort of thoughts, feelings, and emotions are there. You're just getting sort of the grit now versus like sort of the big dumb, doe-eyed idiot, for lack of a better term.
Like you were saying, the series provides a lot of social commentary told through dark humor. Why do you think comedy lends itself to this type of storytelling?
Truth in comedy. I mean, that's a saying that we have in improv. It's a saying, there's a book, Truth in Comedy, about improv, but there is truth in comedy. And when we can sort of, it's just a great vessel to the truth. And, that's ultimately what our show was about the truth of this woman, these women that we have seen time and time again on our television screens, that just get sort of put down by their piggish husbands, and staying in that and sort of shining a light on how that comedy that we've seen for generations now, the married with children type dynamics on screen, that isn't the truth. So we're going to show you why this sort of comedy, this, the bright lights, the sitcom setting, the putting down of the wife and the women on the shows is problematic. And we're gonna use that as the tool to say, hey, look, this thing that you've been laughing at, you maybe are laughing at right now, see how it's problematic,
Mhm.
And fortunately, Annie and Mary Hollis are just so skilled, and they bring so much levity to those serious moments in the show. So it sort of maintains where they're in these sticky situations, and they still are able to make you laugh in moments where you're not expecting it. And those are moments of like, oh yeah, I've been there. Oh yeah. Like that. Yes, I've been caught with my hand in the cookie jar too, type thing. And you can laugh at it, and then therefore reveal the truth of that moment, of that relationship dynamic, whatever.
Beautifully said. And this is the longest that you've lived with a character. Has anything surprised you about this experience? What's been the biggest takeaway for you?
Man, I didn't realize I liked hot dogs as much as I did. So for the first season, I got a little carried away. First season, Neil's we called it his hero shirt. It's a shirt that his t-shirt that he
Yeah.
just wore. We got clearance from what became my favorite restaurant when we were filming in Boston. We were filming in Boston proper, or like just outside of Boston, but the show is set in Worcester, which is like 45 minutes to an hour outside. But our costume designer, Carol, said, we got clearance from this restaurant. It's a real place called George's Coney Island Hot Dogs in Worcester. And I still have like a couple of shirts that I'll wear around. But anyway, I was like, well, I want to make the pilgrimage. I want to like see. So I thought it would just be a one-time thing. I'd drive around Worcester. I'd, see where Neil went to high school and eat a hot dog. And it was so good that I made the trip. In 2 seasons, I probably made the trip like 40 times. So I miss it, but I've slimmed down a little bit, and I credit that to the the void of hot dogs that I've had to refrain myself from eating.
I've got two more questions for you. As you get ready to close this chapter in your career with this project, if you could share parting words with the fans and your character, what would it be?
Thanks. Thanks for joining us on this ride. It's a show that changed, the trajectory. It changed my life and changed the trajectory of my life forever. It really does mean so much when people reach out on social media, or people, after a Groundling show, anyone that tells me they watched the show, I'm so grateful that it spoke to them and that it means so much to them, because it meant so much to me. In terms of Neil, he changed a lot, and I think the show helped me change a lot. It helped me grow in a lot of different ways. It helped me grow as an actor, as a performer. And while we all hoped that it would have gone on for 5 more seasons and really taken over the zeitgeist, I think it has a very, very important place in the zeitgeist, because it's an important message and it's an important story. So if you haven't watched it, it's 8 episodes in season 1, easy binge, caught up for season 2, because it's just 16 great episodes of television.
And then final question for you. You're such a dynamic storyteller. What's left on your bucket list?
Well, I've written 2 features, comedies. So I'm a comedian first and foremost. That's like, obviously being a Groundling, and that's what I do. So I just want to continue to tell stories and to make people laugh. I don't know what, if anything, will happen with those features and the other things that I continue to write. All I know is I lead from a place of, I want to brighten people's days. I'm currently in the main company show at the Groundlings, which is running on Fridays and Saturdays through September 17th. And it's a wild, raucous, fun ride of sketch comedy and improv. So I'm going to continue to do that. And whenever I pour myself into the work, I wish I had a roadmap, but it's sort of, I'm just going to keep creating, and I'm going to keep putting things that hopefully make people laugh, and bring people some joy out into the world. And maybe I'll get to do another drama like this in the mix too. But I just want to continue to kind of spread that joy, spread those laughs.